The New York Times recently ran an article very critical of Tayyip Erdogan, who of course is the president of Turkey and the former prime minister of Turkey. And they focused on his attacks on democracy in Turkey, but also his attacks on the media. So Erdogan has a tight grip on the Turkish press, and he's famously thin-skinned as well. In the article, they reference that Erdogan got mad that a newspaper ran a headline about the death sentence of the former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi, and the headline was, "Death with 52%. So in other words, they're saying he got the death penalty even though he got 52% of the vote. This is fucking crazy. That, it's obvious corruption and he shouldn't get the death penalty. That's the implication, right? But Tayyip Erdogan took away from that it was somehow about him. Because he apparently got around 52% of the vote or something also. So he thought the death with 52% was like a way of saying, well, maybe this guy here, we can give death with 52%. He saw a connection where there was absolutely no connection whatsoever, and he lashed out in his usual buffoonish way. But this time, he went after the New York Times, and it's hilariously stupid. So he gave a speech where he made a bunch of these comments here. I want to give you some of what he said. Quote, "As a newspaper, you," again referring to the New York Times, "should know your place. You are meddling in Turkey's affairs by writing something like this. By publishing this editorial, you are overstepping the limits of freedom." Who are you? He literally said, "Who are you? Could you say something like this to the U.S. administration?" Oh, it's so embarrassing. He's just a stupid person. Hey, Tayyip, allow me to answer that for you. Yes! Of course you can say that! Are you kidding me? You absolutely can say that. Now, we may have a system in America where the establishment press is too much in bed with the establishment, but I come out here every day and talk about how Bush is a war criminal and Obama's killing grandmas with drones and shit. And there's no SWAT team busting down my door to drag me away in handcuffs, son. Of course you could say that about the American government in America. Do you not know of our First Amendment? Of course he doesn't know about our First Amendment. There's never been anything more obvious I've ever seen in my life. But the other stuff is great too. Know your place, New York Times. That is their place! Their place is to write articles, their place is to give the news, and their place is to comment on world affairs. That absolutely is their place. You are meddling in Turkey's affairs by writing something like this. He's referring to the fact that they said, in one of the articles, they were like, the U.S. and NATO should not take Erdogan cracking down on democracy in his own country and cracking down on the media. They shouldn't. They should put pressure on him to stop that. He's like, you are meddling in our affairs. Bitch, how about you meddling in the internal affairs of your own country, like fucking over your democracy and fucking over what was a free press in your country? You want to talk about meddling in affairs? You're fucking over Turkey's internal affairs. Don't talk about a fucking newspaper who's just telling it like it is. You are overstepping the limits of freedom. Who are you? There are people whose job it is to call out bullshit, and you're the bullshitter. And no, they're not overstepping limits of freedom. See, this is the childish view of freedom. Oh, I'm going to give you freedom, but only freedom to say the things that I, as a leader, approve of. So then that is, by definition, not freedom. Nobody needs freedom of speech to talk about how apple pie is delicious and mother is fantastic. You don't need it for that because nobody's going to get outraged over that. You need it when you're saying something that can actually challenge authority. That's when you need it the most. Or when you're challenging religion, as we've seen recently with the Muhammad cartoons and things like that. What's so funny about this is you can tell from his comments the concept of freedom of speech is something he genuinely has never pondered before. He's never pondered it. Like, he just doesn't get it. Like, he's not grasping it. He's like, no, I'm on the side of freedom, but if you say shit I don't like, I'm obviously going to pressure you to not say that as a leader. No, you got it exactly wrong. Okay, so I haven't even gotten to the scary part yet. Believe it or not, I haven't. There's a legitimate concern that the upcoming legislative elections are being tampered with. There's some elections coming in early June. And if the AKP party wins, that's the party that's more sympathetic to Erdogan, Erdogan is going to get more reforms that he wants. Now, there's already been a crackdown on liberties in Turkey in many ways recently. We've covered them on the show. You could check on the Secular Talk archive. There was like a brawl in Parliament over it recently. But listen to what he said. Again, if his party wins, here's what he said. Quote, "The new constitution and the presidential system will block the way of these coup makers forever." Again, he's talking about the media there. "The new constitution and the presidential system will block the way of these coup makers forever." In other words, yeah, if my side wins, and they're probably going to rig the election to make it win, well, we're just going to do whatever we want, and we're going to silence the media, and I'm admitting to you that that's exactly what we're going to do. Guys, you have to understand, Tayyip Erdogan is a bad guy. He is. And what he's already done in Turkey is the Putin trick, where he goes from being prime minister, which actually has the authority, or did, to being president. To being prime minister to being president. And, president is supposed to be not really a hands-on thing in Turkey. Well, when Erdogan got it, he was like, no, now I'm making it hands-on. That's because I'm going to control the country. He's pulling a Vladimir Putin. So he's a bad guy, and I feel bad for the people of Turkey having to deal with this bullshit all the time. There's got to be some sort of way to get him out of power. I don't know exactly what the answer is, but the answer certainly includes the New York Times and all outlets calling out this jackass's horse shit.